What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Weird Couch. This is Fridays on the Couch. I am EQ, and as always, I am here with the two bearded ones over my shoulders, as you can see. We have Kris, the furry love child of Sasquatch and the Yeti, and then we have Joe, who looks like a jacked up Q-tip dipped in some dark chocolate sauce.
It's getting there, hater.
That's not a knock. That's not a knock. His beard, as you can see, which shoulder? He'll be over this shoulder right here. You can see his beard is coming in better than mine. He has definitive lines. Joe, show him the lines real quick. Give him a little close up. Look at that. You see, he's looking amazing right now. So again, stay tuned. Hit him up on Instagram. Let him know what you think about his baby beard at the moment.
It's coming into its own. It's growing. It's getting its manly vibe going on right now. It's not a baby
is getting
beard.
its manly vibe.
It's in its adolescence right now. It's a
adolescence. His teenager beard.
It's my teenager beard. There you go. Thank you.
All right. So today's topic, while I sit here and set up my stopwatch so that I know when to press the record button again, is antisocial. Being antisocial and just discussing it, because people, when they discuss it, it's very I wouldn't say taboo, but it is very. It's a negative. There's a negative connotation. The definition that we have here is not sociable, not wanting the company of others. Synonyms: unsociable, unfriendly, uncommunicative, reclusive, withdrawn, avoidant, and the informal, standoffish. I don't know if you guys deal with being antisocial. If you have ever experienced issues that would cause you to be antisocial. So I don't know. What is your first take on hearing the word antisocial? What does it mean to you?
What does it mean to
Kris?
us?
Or
Kris?
Joe. There we go.
Or Joe, or one of us. Okay, so I will go first.
Somebody.
If you don't mind, Kris. I mean.
Oh no, absolutely. Go right on ahead.
Okay, so what comes up in my mind when I think of antisocial is this day and age where people are doing this in groups and crowds. And not really interacting with one another. I mean, there can be a group, a party, whatever, but you always find that 1 or 2 or 10 people not interacting with each other. They're just in a corner, being wallflowers, and just on their phone. And they're on social media and social networking sites, but they're not really interacting with one another. And they're just being antisocial when they're together. So that's what I think about. What about you, Kris?
I'm
not sure what side you're on.
I guess.
He's going to be on your left side.
There you go. I think what we're going to touch base on, I think it's important to make a distinction between being antisocial and being an individual that has a social anxiety. So I think those are certainly two different things. So I think that one, being antisocial, you have more control over the choice as to whether or not you'd like to go be involved in activities, surround yourself with other people. Perhaps you don't. Some people don't. So just kind of by behavioral nature, they just don't care to be around others. So I think that is more what we're describing with antisocial. Whereas social anxiety describes something beyond your control, and I'm sure there's those of you that have experienced it. I've experienced it being the social butterfly that I am on occasion. So that panic kind of sets in, and the idea of maybe being the focal point of everybody's attention might feel overwhelming, and it may deter you from even leaving your home altogether. So that's what comes to mind right away when the topic's brought up to me. So I don't know if you want to elaborate any further on
Yeah.
that.
Now, my
No,
whole
those
thing is that, okay, so everyone has that, well, a lot of people have that fear of being the center of attention in the crowd, right? Like you just said, well, no, I have that fear. I know I'm a clown, but I don't like being the center of attention. And there are some times where I don't want to go out. I'm classified as a loner. I just chill by myself.
Do you think it's possible that somebody who displays the first version of antisocial behavior that we're talking about, like being on their phone all the time, could possibly be the second version that we're talking about, and they're just masking it the best that they can?
That's quite a possibility. That is very, yeah, that's definitely possible. So I know, like you said, there's levels of antisocial, right? Like crowds. I can't do crowds. Cannot do them at all. And then it gets to the point where I do feel the physical effects, the heart palpitations, the anxiety, the sweating, that I have to get out of the situation ASAP. What that has to do with PTSD and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
I don't know if that is, I can be classified as antisocial because of that.
Yeah.
See, I'm not sure if what I'm going to describe is considered antisocial, but large crowds in the sense that, like, when you go to a convention of some kind and there's just mass herds of people and so many people that you can't walk anywhere purposefully, that you're reduced to like this shuffling of your feet and you're just kind of a part of this massive crowd and you can't really go anywhere on your own free will. You're just amongst this horde of people and everyone's bumping into each other and everyone is rude and everyone is just worried about making their steps forward. They're not considering you or your physical space. In those moments is when I'm like, I need to get out of here because I'm going to suplex the person in front of me. Like, this is not, I'm not in my happy place. But anyway, but to touch on what EQ was talking about too is, there was a time pre-smartphone. See, first I want to go ahead and this may be a reoccurring theme amongst all of our shows, but I tend to object to the idea that current technology is the reason why people behave badly. I think we just might be assholes. Before smartphones, if we wanted to ignore somebody at the bus stop, we would just throw on a set of these, and we would be antisocial. Now, Walkmans and headphones, those were around, for decades before smartphones, so that wasn't a recent invention by any means. Going back to the Walkman, who had a Walkman? Had several Walkmans.
Love those things.
So that's just kind of the little, opposite side of the coin I wanted to toss out was that, that's a thing. Was prior to smartphones. Like I don't think that smartphones or current technology by any means is the main suspect. Like I think people if people don't want to communicate with other people and people just by nature don't want to have conversations. Because let's be real. What's worse than like waiting for the bus at the bus stop and some random person that you're not ready for a conversation with comes up to you and just starts talking about all things under the sun. Sometimes that's not desirable. That's.
Sorry, I'm laughing because like I typically will try to avoid conversations, and it's funny because people are like, "But EQ, you talk all the fucking time." I only talk in response to others most of the time. I mean, there's times where I'm like, I get excited and I'm talking to people that I know. But when it comes to strangers, I'll sit there and I'm like, I want to, be like, say hi, and like act normal because I'm very abnormal and I want to portray being as normal as possible. So, having those common courtesies, saying hi, smiling, no matter if I'm having a bad day or not. But sometimes I'm not. But a lot of people will just rent, and the broham will sit there and he's like, dude, you'll have a conversation with anybody, won't you? And it's out of that fear of, and because somebody with social anxiety disorder is afraid that he or she will make mistakes, look bad, or be embarrassed or humiliated in front of others. And then the fear may be made worse by a lack of social skills or experience in social situations. From a young age, I didn't want to be made fun of because I was shy, and so I observed and I learned as much as I could and realized that the more outspoken somebody was, or the less, I should say, the less somebody was weird and the more normal they appeared, the less interaction those people actually get. And so I developed a habit early on of being, trying to portray that normalcy, and also being being honest and sharing more stuff about myself with others. Because what happens is you give them that much information, all of a sudden they're like, "Yep, nope, that was way too. I'm overloaded now. That was too much information. Now I'm not going to ask any more questions." Some people will sit there and go, "Well, that's just you being basically a sissy lala, a pansy, a pussy, whatever you want to call it."
Yo, don't be a bitch, yo.
Yeah, don't be a bitch. But
So left out. Don't be a bitch.
but that's not always the case. Like I was saying for myself, is I talk so that people feel like their curiosity is satisfied, so then they don't have to interact with me as much or continue to interact with me, which helps me out. How being antisocial or having social anxiety, what are some solutions that you guys have done or whatever? Because I don't know if Kris, do you get social anxiety, right? Is that what you said?
Not well.
Or not really?
No. See, I'm different in the sense that I get more of like performance anxiety. So like I've always been the class clown. I've always been outspoken. I've always had no problem with standing up and making an off the cuff remark for laughs. That's just always been something that I enjoy doing. But hand me a piece of paper that I haven't rehearsed and stand me in front of a classroom and say, "Hey, present this," and I'll do it, but I'll be internally freaking out quite a bit. So, then there's been like times in the past where, I've always been really competitive. So, I played football even after high school. I played semi-pro ball locally for an 11-man team here, and then also raced bicycles. And so there have been times where just the pressure I've put on myself to perform well gives me enough anxiety that I find a reason to not even show up. And so I think that's where it becomes like a major detriment, because now instead of going out and just riding my bike, having a good time, or going out throwing the football, having a good time, both of these things I know intimately. I've done really well at both sports, but there's definitely been times where I've just had that internal freak out moment and been like, "Nah, I got something that I could be doing here at home." And so I just stay in my bubble and stay in the comfort zone and kind of choose not to go out. And so that's my experience with it.
Joe, I don't know if you heard the same thing that I just heard, but it sounds like Kris has social anxiety disorder based on performance activities. Not
he can't perform. He has issues performing.
Well, I wasn't going to really put it out
That's
there.
Not it at all. That's not it at
I
all.
was just saying.
But no,
that's what he said. He has issues.
But that's a serious thing. That is a serious
humping
thing.
in a crowd. I mean, there's
who said anything about humping? You took it there.
Your
mind's in the gutter.
Your eyes spoke.
The innuendo. But that's definitely another portion of that social anxiety is you have oh man, I don't know, I can't remember what book I read it in, but I think it was either in my sociology class or my psychology class or both. But that fear of success, I have a bigger fear knowing that I'm possibly at the midway point of my life, and that at some point I will no longer exist. And so the fear of not existing and not being able to live life anymore versus having social anxiety and being fearful of like success and like putting myself out there, the balance, the fear of the end of my life coming up and not existing anymore is more so than the antisocial and the social anxiety that I experience. nothing anybody ever tells you is going to affect you as much as death is going to affect you. And so basically, the only issue that I'm teaching myself is me and death. That's it. That's the conversation that I'm having, that I have on a daily basis. And every day that I wake up and I'm alive, death loses, and so social anxiety doesn't seem as big an issue. It doesn't change the fact that we all know that there's those moments where that doorknob is your biggest opponent, and opening that door and stepping through it is the biggest success that you can possibly have. And if you can do that on a daily basis, then you're winning at life. And some people will make fun of that statement, but it's the truth, because, it gets so bad as to be, there's people that are overly agoraphobic. You guys know what agoraphobia is, right?
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and define it.
Yeah, I didn't know this until I was talking to my buddy Russ. You've never met Russ, Joe, but Kris, you know Russ.
Oh yeah.
We were talking when I was visiting my daughter for her birthday. We were talking about like VA stuff and military and army and PTSD and stuff like that. And he's like, "You're agoraphobic." I'm like, "No, I'm not agoraphobic. Like, I go outside. I go to work. I go to the gym. I go to the store. Like, I go to the movies." And he's like, "Well, are you afraid to leave your house sometimes? Do you stick to a specific route when you go to places? Do you deviate from any unknowns?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, duh. Like, that's my safe zone. Like, my 5 and 25, which for you guys don't know, in the military, when you're deployed, you clear 5 meters, 25 meters, you clear a safe zone for IEDs and explosives and things like that. And so you have like this 360-degree coverage, and you can defend yourself. And so I've always operated with that in my mind. Like, if I don't know what specific place that I'm going, I Google it. I figure out the layout. I figure out what's in that area, and then when I go there, like, I'm on high alert. Like, this is a new area, and I need to know what everything's that's going on. He was like, "That's agoraphobia. It's a minor form of agoraphobia, as opposed to the full-fledged form of people who just cannot leave their house." So, sorry, go ahead, Joe.
No, so that's your way of dealing with your, I guess, being antisocial, that you make yourself go to places that you are not very comfortable with.
Oh, yeah. I went to...
And your fear is your main motivator. Your fear of death, or actually having lived before you die, is your main motivator. And actually experiencing life. I mean, I get that. But fear is a powerful motivator. In everything. But
yes, it is.
It's when fear makes you stagnant and isolates yourself, or you isolate yourself because of the fear, or you stop doing stuff because of the fear, that becomes a problem. Now, I deal with my social anxiety by actually doing the exact same thing, actually getting out there. Fear is not a motivator. It's just, I know I need to get out and experience certain things, or I'm going to be stuck. So that's just me. I mean, everybody deals with it differently. I hate, like Kris. Excuse me. Ooh, got me lifesavers. Gives you indigestion or something. I don't know what's going on. But when Kris is talking, an excellent breakfast. It is. For people who don't know, we're actually filming in the morning, so don't judge me.
This coffee's real right now.
So, for Kris, I have the same thing going on that Kris has. I can joke, laugh, cut up all day, class clown. Been that way since I was small. But give me something like my speech class. Oh my God, I actually have to write something out and present it. I am all nerves, shaking, a bundle of hot mess. But I actually saved that for my last class and my associates, because I was that daggum anxious about taking that class. But I had to do it because I had to get my degree. I had to excel and succeed at what I want to do, my goals in life. Yay. But that brings me to my next point. Now, we were talking about technology and phones and actually being on the bus stop and everything, and people with their phones and newspapers and stuff like that, and that's a clear indication. Don't talk to me. Leave me the fuck alone, right? Now, what about all these lovely gaming systems that everyone are on, and they're not actually interacting with people outside of the house? They actually don't go anywhere. I mean, they can talk shit all day online, Xbox Live, PlayStation, whatever the hell it's called, and everything. They're talking shit, but when they're actually outside of that little comfort zone they have, they clam up. Is that a form of antisocial? Would that be?
Yeah.
What I mean is like, okay, so they're my bad, Chris. So what I think is what I'm trying to say is that okay, they get on the game and they enjoy it. They used to be the outside person and enjoying interaction with other people, but then they get on the game and that's where they live in that virtual reality space where it's just the game, and then they have they create this anxiety about going and talking to other people outside of the game.
Yes. So yeah, in that particular sense, I do agree that the game is to at fault because they used to be that way, and then they came to the game, and now they're like, oh nope, this is my life now, and they don't exist outside of that, and it causes them social anxiety. Then yeah, in that sense, I definitely believe the consoles and the gaming is the issue.
Okay, so I would be remiss if I didn't go ahead and speak on behalf of this subculture that I so lovingly subscribe to. I enjoy gaming a lot. I live in a part of the world where it's dark by 4:30 every day, and it's going to be freezing and snowing here in the next day or two. So if you don't have things to keep you sane inside, you better take up snow sports. And growing up in Stockton, California, there were no snow sports. Um, so what I want to kind of touch on is that I feel like for people in I want to get away from the notion that the external stimuli are to blame for internal issues, because at the end of the day, this entire world is full of stimuli, um, and you can kind of succumb to negative patterns with no matter what it is. I mean, it could be woodworking in the garage. It could be um, for pre technological abundance. They were housewives that didn't leave their house, and they had the same kinds of interactions you're describing on video with video games, but they had pen pals, and
Uh-huh.
so the extent of their social circle, ended at the tip of their pen, so to speak. So I feel like the yes, they are kind of a 1A 1B similar kind of a situation, but like I say, like I was talking about with the smartphones, if it wasn't consoles, if it wasn't video games, it would be some other distraction. It would be some other, we'd come up with something else. So at the end of the day, like I said, I just kind of like to think that people are just assholes by nature to a degree.
Okay,
um,
my bad. I
Hold
actually
on.
agree with you, but yeah. My bad. I keep on interrupting people. I actually agree with you. I was just making a statement of I was just giving gaming as an example. I mean, there's always going to be
Oh, okay.
something
Oh,
that
I
is
remember
going
what I
to
was gonna
be
say.
um I guess an outlet for people to actually, whether it's pen pal, like I don't know, one of y'all said I was spaced out. Um, pen pal or something. They're always gonna find something. Technology is just the new form of creating that little antisocial or your
Yeah.
own little bubble now.
Right. And then what I also wanted to comment on was the flip side of the coming from a predominantly social existence to, discovering games and discovering that you can communicate within the games and then abandoning life outside. And I think that might be true for, I want to say, probably a pretty small percentage of people these days, because it's such a regular part of everyday life now. I mean, the majority of people are gamers. It's no longer a stigma related to nerds, right? It's something that's pretty mainstream. Just about everybody has a day job and they play Call of Duty at night. It's really very common. But the main point is that there are a lot of instances where people will discover gaming, and then that'll actually be an avenue to discovering long-lasting friendships, developing communities. There are a lot of video game-based communities that raise money for charities. they use their community, you know, for not just gaming, for not just occupying their spare time. They do it for a cause. They use that avenue for something, so that way they're not just closed off in their four walls, uh, living a very narrow existence kind of a thing. So I kind of feel like what you're talking about and what you touched on, it's probably true for a percentage. I think it's a small percentage, just because I feel like gaming in general has become kind of a part of the new societal norm. It's not one of those things anymore. Like, I can't say our parents, because our parents all played video games.
PlayStation 1.
Most parents were very, very much like, that's an extra thing. That's yeah. No, it was this one.
You got the controller?
It was this one. Hold up. It's this one. It was this one. No, I don't need the controller. It's this one.
Swear to God, my pops, he'd be playing like Black on PlayStation 1, and he'd sit there and he'd lean and to peek around the corner. Like, Pops, you can't, like, they don't have that technology yet. You can't just lean to look around the corner. And
and we'd be cracking up. We'd be standing behind him. That's why I turned around. We'd be standing behind him, and we would start cracking up. We're whispering like, "Hey, did you see that? Watch. He's gonna turn the corner, and he's gonna do it again." And he would lean. Sure as shit. And we started cracking
so
up. You guys need to go upstairs. Go to your room.
My mom would do the same thing.
You guys need to
She
go
would sit there with the controller, and she'd be playing Crash Bandicoot. And when he would try to jump, and she would take her controller and do this when she try to get it to jump.
Oh yes, I've seen that on so many occasions.
Oh man. So the last question that I have here is, because it is a great point. I'm glad you made that point, Kris, because there's the flip side, because technology and social media and games, stuff like that, is a part of society now. It is there. So, is it possible? Oh,
just real quick though, before you start, there was a time pre-computer, right? There was a time pre-television. There was a time pre-sewing machine. There was a time pre-electric mixer. There was a time pre-technological conveniences where people had to do, they had to take alternative means to achieving, a similar result. So, like I said, it's on us to adapt to incoming technologies. It's on us to revise our own personal philosophies in order to not be overwhelmed or overcome or overtaken by these new technologies, because innovation is going to keep happening. And if we just keep, blaming, our human conditions on external stimuli, then all we're doing is giving ourselves a giant cop-out, and we're removing the power from ourselves. And so what's going to happen then? I don't want to go too deep into the rabbit hole, but if we remove the power from ourselves and say, oh, well, it's the cell phone's fault, then they're going to start regulating all of our external stimuli, which doesn't make any sense. Like, people just need to be more well-rounded. People just need to be more thoughtful.
No, it's fine. Exactly.
Anyway,
and that's the thing. And like I said, it's a great point, because the question that I have, because I already have my viewpoint, is with technology and with social media and all the new stuff that is out there, do you think antisocial behavior and social anxiety exists for people who do not partake in games or social media or Facebook? The people who are like, oh, I'm not on Facebook all the time, or like, I don't care. Like, it seems like they think they're taking like a higher road. But do you think that they have social anxiety about being on social media, and therefore they avoid it because they don't want to?
Oh, yeah.
They don't want to get that judgment from Facebook. They don't want to get that judgment from gaming, and they don't want to get that. They have that fear of failing at new technology and new social media stuff.
That's a possibility.
I know somebody just like that. That for whatever reason fears those kinds of conversations, and it takes a great deal of personal effort for them to put themselves out there on social media. And so, the reasons are probably, like you're saying, stemming from some kind of internal anxiety. But externally, what's shown is, oh, well, that's something I don't need that. That's something for, this type of person.
Yes.
And I'm above that. So it's I definitely agree with that. It is kind of like you were talking. It is kind of the other side of the coin, where even the idea of social media is so overwhelming and anxiety filled that you don't even want to do that. So then, I mean, that's kind of dangerous though, right? Because if your circle is real small and then you're afraid to put yourself out there on social media to interact, and maintain relationships, because really, a responsible social media user, is just maintaining relationships over great distances or time, really. Yeah, so I mean, if you're incapable of that,
Yeah, and well, it's like for me, like people were like, oh my god, like yeah, you're the type of person that would be on social media and YouTube, and they don't get, man, that like even after it's almost been a year. This is the last month. This is month 12 that I've been doing YouTube. Um, I still have major, and I'm going to call it social media anxiety instead of just regular social anxiety. I have social media anxiety because, you know, growth hasn't happened the way that I thought it was going to be, or people make comments on videos that they view it from a singular point of view, and I'm like, dude, totally missed the point of the video, and then that judgment that comes back or whatever. And I think I've learned to deal with it a lot better, but I still, because of the lack of popularity, I guess you could say, still has me concerned about failing and not living up to the expectations of social media situations. Just like I fear failing social situations, and what IRL, what they call in real life versus online. And I think that's something that should be discussed more. That people who are anti-social media are being anti-social media, like they're and they have that social anxiety. So any last thoughts, words, concerns?
Yes, my last thought is that okay, this everyone keep an open mind. This for everyone watching, all the viewers. This is no way in shape, fashion, or form saying that people do not have mental or behavioral disorders. We're not talking about these people in a bad way. We're just talking and bringing it to the forefront of a conversation. We feel for those people, and there are many organizations you can donate to. Just Google any and every one of them. There are many people out here struggling with social anxiety. We implore you to get outside your social bubble and just try, whether it's like one thing a day, just make a goal. Just try to step outside your bubble and succeed and do what you do. Live life. That's my one goal.
I'll certainly agree with that. And then to add on to that, it's not always as simple as external stimuli being processed in your brain and how you work that out. Like a lot of how we feel is hormonal, it's chemical. Not a lot you can do about it. So seek the help of a professional. Talk to somebody. Try and figure these things out in a way that's healthy, keeps you on your trajectory to success. Like you said, no ill will is being spoken here. It's just an acknowledgement that it exists and it's sad and it stops people from becoming, I guess, to use the Army slogan, all that they can be. So.
No, exactly. It's very, very good points, and yes, like I said, like Joe and Kris both iterated. This is what the Weird Couch is about. You got to understand that the concept of the Weird Couch is, hey, we're just people, and if we were in real life together, we would get together, we'd chill out on the couch, and we'd start having a serious conversation. Maybe not all the time, but serious conversations are more likely to be had on the couch inside of a safe, that safe zone, that fortress of solitude. The last time that I visited Washington, I saw Joe, and that's the first time that Joe and Kris met was, like 2 years ago, I think it was. I was up there for some VA stuff. And me and Joe were just chilling on a lot less hair.
I had a lot less hair.
Me and Joe were chilling on the couch, and we started talking about deployment and things that I remembered one way and things that he remembered a different way. And, it was very emotional, you know what I'm saying? And we had that serious conversation. And like I said, so for the Weird Couch, we have these conversations because these conversations should be had. You can't just jump online and be happy-go-lucky all the time. That doesn't change the fact that these things exist. They happen to people that you know, that you love, and you care about. And we're trying to spark conversation. So hopefully, if you want, watch this video, it gives you that little itch in your brain that you need to go scratch, and you go and Google and learn about it, and maybe somebody in your life, you can help them out and point them in the right direction so that they can exist and live life to the fullest extent that they can. As always, I'm EQ. This is Joe and Kris. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you guys next time here on Fridays on the Couch.